Michelle from Golden, Colorado. Beautiful country out there. She hit us up and said, which teams have utilized the transfer portal the most effectively in 2023? And what factors influence whether transfers will be successful or effective within a program? Well, the second part's easy and complicated, Michelle. It's all about fit. I do think the recruiting process in the portal is way different. Every coach I talked to, several of them I got to go on the record about this last week, every one of them says it is night and day. Recruiting a kid out of high school versus recruiting a kid out of the portal. Kurt Ferentz was talking about how different it is sitting in the living room of a 10th grader and talking to a guy who's been a 4-year starter at a Big Ten program. That's like talking to your middle school kid versus your broker. It's just not even in the same galaxy. Well, because of that, guys you're getting out of the portal know the questions to ask, or at least they know a lot more, the questions to ask than a high school kid. A high school kid wants to know, which sports car am I going to get to take a photo shoot in when I visit your campus? The kid who's been a 2-year starter at Purdue at tight end, he wants to know what system you're running. He wants to know a depth situation. He wants to know your nutrition and strength and conditioning. What's your academic plan for me? What does your alumni base look like in my particular field, which is management and business management? They're asking the real questions. And that's why normally when you get a kid out of the portal, it's pretty good in terms of fit. So that's the second part. The first question was, which portal teams have been the best in 2023? I think Kentucky hit a home run in the transfer portal. They upgraded this team, man. And everyone who is watching Will Levis walk out the door thinks otherwise. They went and got Devin Leary from NC State. If he's healthy, I'm a believer he'll be a better college quarterback than Will Levis was. I'm not alone in that opinion. I think they are really happy with him. Ray Davis, the running back from right here at Vanderbilt, is going to be a wonderful addition to that team. Liam Cohen is back as offensive coordinator. I talked to several Kentucky players last week, even some defensive players. Their face just lights up when you ask them about Liam Cohen. They don't even play on that side of the ball, but they know what it's like to practice against him. They got Hardaway too, the DB out of Cincy. They made some good moves. They weren't ranked top 5 or anything like that. They addressed their roster needs. They didn't have to completely overhaul it, but they addressed their roster needs. If that offensive line comes together, and they added some from the portal, and they're moving a lot of guys around, if that offensive line comes together, Kentucky's going to be a really good team this year. Next up, I'll tell you another one that really did a good job. UCLA. Talked about him earlier in the show. Sturdivant, the wide receiver out of Cal, probably going to start for him. Carson Steele, the kid with the pet alligator, absolutely going to start at running back. They got a DB from Bowling Green, Jordan Anderson. Add all that against the backdrop of their quarterback situation. They added some quarterback depth. I think that's eventually what it'll be, depth from the portal, because eventually, I think this is Dante Moore's team. I don't have any idea if he's ready to start week 1. If he's not, they've got Colin Schlee out there, for example. Like, they've got experienced guys who have started games. They have simultaneously and very quietly and methodically just built the overall caliber of their roster. It's not top 5. Again, this is more an in-the-weeds, sort of cerebral approach that Chip Kelly's taken out there. But when you know my Chip Kelly theory. I know a lot of you are coming back because the season's about to start. I think the sport is in a perfect place for Chip Kelly right now. Chip Kelly is not crazy about recruiting. He's not out on the road every single minute of every single day, but he understands talent. He understands how to properly utilize it. And if you can pay for kids, and if you can use the transfer portal and pitch coming to play for me and coming to live in Los Angeles for a little while, the second time around, a portal recruitment, that appeals. You can see it happening right now. They had the number 10 portal class in the country. So I think UCLA is one of those teams. I think LSU this past cycle absolutely was one of those teams. Zy Alexander and Deuce Chestnut, we've talked ad nauseum about how they retooled their secondary. We talked to Brian Kelly about it. I thought he was brutally honest about it when we had him on the show at SEC Media Days. I think it's so incredible that we live in a time where you can overhaul a position room almost wholesale and just use the portal to do it. Now, you're getting kids from Southeast Louisiana and Syracuse, and I know if you're an Alabama fan or if you're an Auburn fan and you're looking down there and you want to you kind of want to find a path past LSU, it's easy to convince yourself, no, you may hit on one of those guys. You can't keep taking kids from that level and just having them all play high-caliber SEC football. I think that's valid. It's a case-by-case thing. I think that's valid. That's fine. But by and large, this is only going to be necessary until they get their roster up to speed, and it will happen pretty quick because it's LSU. Frankly, it wasn't completely over in the ditch to begin with. I know that because they won the West last year. But be that as it may, I think LSU did exactly what they needed to do. Now, they did have a top 5 class. They had the number 2 overall class in the transfer portal. It's letting Brian Kelly do what he was always going to do. It's just letting him do it a little bit quicker. I am going to talk about a team that we don't talk about a whole lot on the show. I've been advocating for some of you in the younger demographic to go watch the 30 for 30 that ESPN did called Pony Excess about SMU way back in the day. It has nothing to do with now. In fact, a lot of what they did to warrant the death penalty is now perfectly legal. So they are getting it done. SMU is getting it done in the transfer portal. I think it's been 3 consecutive top 20 classes. This one was ranked 13th. They went and got a couple of running backs from Miami and A&M. I did not even remember they had gotten L.J. Johnson from Texas A&M until today. I had completely forgotten about that. But also, they're in a position where their name is constantly involved when people are talking about expanding their conference or backfilling. You know, if someone leaves the Big 12 or leaves the Pac-12, SMU is like the first call, and they should be. It just looks like they're going ahead and getting a head start on getting that roster a little bit deeper and ready for Power 5 play. A lot of people think it's inevitable. They'll be in a Power 5 conference before too much longer. Rhett Lashley is there at a good time. And I have never said it's a good time to be the head coach at SMU. It's a good time to be the head coach at SMU right now. I was going to mention Auburn, but we already did a whole segment on Auburn. Auburn is one of the big winners in the portal. They signed more 4- or 5-star talent out of the portal than anyone. Hugh Freeze got his roster to a level of respectability and able to compete in year one because of the portal. So I didn't want to just do a whole nother Auburn segment there.